Hey everybody, it's Steve. How's it going? By the way, my new look. I have Buddy Holly glasses now because I bought Meta glasses. And by the way, they're awesome. So I have the Gen 2. Um, there's not a, but they're not the. Apparently, there's more than one Gen 2. There's not a screen on the inside. It's just regular old lenses. And I've got they're like for seeing close and also for seeing distance and stuff. My distance seeing is actually really good these days because I had eye surgery that fixed my lenses from when I was like born, I guess. But my eyes are two different strengths. I used to box and a long time ago, and everybody's right-handed, so this eye is not as good as at least my shooting eye is good. But so anyway, the lenses make my eyes correct to each other, which is nice, and I can see good close up. Which ever since I was 42, which doesn't seem very old to me, I had to get bifocals. 42 years old. Now I'm not 42 anymore. It's been a while. Um, so today is Friday. I know that because my wife went to work with jeans on, and so they get casual Friday. Um, I'll give you some updates on my life, what's going on. I don't know if people have just started tuning in or whatever, but I'm my wife and I live in Iowa. We have a house there in Clinton, Iowa, and she got a promotion at work, and we're traveling for her work, which is kind of a permanent thing now. So she works for a property management company, and um, they decided she's an ultra rock star, which she is. Something I've been trying to tell them for a long time. But anyway, it's a national company, and so now she's one of three people that the company sends to different areas, and if they have a property that's underperforming, that's got low occupancy, and it's got a kind of a chronic problem. They'll send her, and there's these two other people that work for the company that they do the same thing. They're like special forces. They go in and they figure out what the problem is and like sometimes replace or sometimes retrain the staff there, and even what the issue. We already know what the issue is here, but it's interesting. So anyway, it's a bump in pay, the whole bit. It was great, but now we're permanently living not at home anymore. So the guesstimation is we're basically every 6 months we're going to be moving to a different place, wherever the company that's based in Colorado decides is their next most important property that's wasting money, that's not paying them the money they need on their investment. So now we're in Baton Rouge. We've been here for a couple months now. I love it, by the way. So Iowa is, cold and snow, and everything looks dead. The trees, there's no leaves and stuff like that. I've never liked Iowa that way. And wintertime. And so we've been in Baton Rouge where, when everybody's freezing to death up there, it's been, 60s, 70s up here or down here. And so that's awesome. Um, so it's Friday, the 15th, if that's legit. I don't know. So January, middle of January, Friday. I That's the other thing. Anybody that's been watching my channel for a while knows that I got done doing school forever and ever and ever. I got an MBA in project management and marketing, and then I got out of that in June this year, and started a business on the West Coast, and came back and started another business. And the business on the West Coast is actually something I'm going to continue to do, and everything's kind of geared and oriented toward that. It's called Sunshine Home Cleaning, and the consulting business that I started after that was to fund the cleaning business. The consulting business is called professional maintenance consulting, because for many, many years I worked in the apartment rental business, and I was a maintenance supervisor for some big companies, where that I ran maintenance programs and did a lot of stuff that way. Well, anyway, that's not taken off the way I was hoping it would either. But the number one thing is to not give up. So the first business, which those two businesses are still active, and I still have plans for them both. But the first business didn't materialize the way I was hoping. Everything is, it's legal, it's insured, all the stuff is together on it and stuff, business plan, all that stuff. The difficulty is that when I thought I was going to be able to do the marketing in a different way, and I found out that kind of marketing won't be effective for the business that I'm going to run. So I realized that I would need to have a way to fund the marketing that I need. It's a digital marketing. I don't want to hire a company that does it. I went and talked to and interviewed several of them, found one that I wanted, but it's going to take about $800 a month to pull that off. And so I needed a way to be able to fund that. So I started this consulting company, and was going through brain freeze. That's what happens when you get my age now. Going through an online business thing to connect with other businesses and market that way. Well, that service is great in some ways, but it's actually been kind of taken over by foreign entities. And this is not me being a Trumper. I'm not a Trumper or MAG or anything like that. But it is, it's kind of it's changed in the last 10 years, that system. And so that didn't take off the way I was hoping either. I know that if I pushed harder and if I did more networking and if I got in there to, some of the local, everywhere that there are maintenance supervisors and companies and property management companies and stuff like that, I could definitely get that business up and running. But the point of that business was to quick and dirty get up and start making money. So I've, the trick is change gears like you're running an a manual transmission. Okay. And that is when you try one gear and it's not working, go to the next one. Okay. Don't give up. And so I've gone to the next thing. I was driving up from Baton Rouge to Iowa during the holidays, and I looked on the back of a semi and I was surprised. It said on the back of a semi, it was a big sign that said 2,500 plus a week. And I'm like, holy crap, truck drivers are making a lot more money than I thought they were. Now, during college, I was driving a bus. And so I have a CDL. It's a Class B CDL. I used to have a Class A CDL, and I gave it up when I changed from one state to another a long time ago, because I didn't think I was ever going to use it again. They asked, do you want to keep your CDL in there? I said, nah, and because you have to have a physical every couple of years from the DOT to keep that going. And so, I didn't want to go through the trouble of the physical if I wasn't going to be driving truck anymore or anything like that. So anyway, I gave it up. Well, I went and got my Class B after that to drive bus during school while I was attending school. And now anyway, that got my interest up in the idea of driving trucks. So I've done research and stuff like that and found out that that's kind of $2,500 a week is, in my opinion, bullshit. I don't know how they would work that. Other than if you were an independent contractor, so like an owner operator. So you can lease a truck from a company like Prime specifically is who I'm going to be going for. And you can actually make that kind of money and better in a lot of cases. So I am enrolled in Baton Rouge Community College, and I have started the CDL training class. Even though I already know how to drive a truck and all that kind of stuff, you have to be in one of the classes unless you know somebody with a semi, because when you go to test with the DMV, you have to test in what you're going to drive. And so unless you have a spare semi laying around that runs, you have to take a class. So I'm enrolled in a class. The class is $5,500, but luckily Baton Rouge Community College is well funded and there are grants, and so it's free to me. That rocks. And all that means is rich people are awesome, and people, not necessarily rich people, but people that really believe in the community college thing, or they've gotten their degree or their start at a community college, and or they want people in the area to be able to get that, and so they contribute. It's almost like contributing to NPR and things like that. So I have a grant for $5,500, and so I'm taking the class. And I already love the class. It's awesome. It's like riding a bike, and not to mention I drove a bus for 3 years, and so it's all relative, right? So all the different things that I'm learning is fun. And one of the neat things with the channel is I'm going to be doing a lot of video from the road, on the road. And so I've already decided I'm going to have a special camera system. Imagine like a dash cam, except that it's going to be going right to a hard drive, so I can have lots and lots and lots of footage. And I got the meta glasses so that I could do like a B-roll, and a B-roll is like you have a camera looking at you and you're talking about something or whatever it is, the subject of that particular post. And then also, you're supposed to have about 50% of your video should be stuff that you see as a channel host. So that's the point of the meta glasses. And I found out there's tons of really cool things about them since then. I highly recommend people to get them. I have the Gen 2s, and there's no screen on the inside that I can see. There's no pictures or whatever like that. The biggest thing is that there's AI attached to it, and I can hear them in my ears. Which my ears, that's another thing. I can answer the phone hands-free. I can, if I get a text message, it'll read it to me, and then I can even say, answer this way, and I say it out, and it texts it back. All hands-free, which is another awesome truck driving thing, because it's illegal to hold a phone or even hold a CB handle in a semi these days. You're not allowed to have an electronic device within reach that you have to pick up and hold when you're a semi driver or a truck driver. So these glasses are perfect. I can listen to the radio. I can, without having to adjust the radio, which is a thing that crashes a lot of people, distracted driver stuff. I've known 2 truckers for sure that wound up in rivers and stuff over messing with the radio. And the only thing that I won't be able to do is CB work on the phone. I will talk to the instructor because I know the law. The law says you're not allowed to have an electronic device within reach. But I mean, how are they talking on the CB and stuff? So I'll figure that out. Everything's changing these days. So, longer you live, the more you have to figure shit out. There's a bunch of kids that don't know what it's like not to have a cell phone. And, me and all my people, we know. We grew up without them. And so everything is everybody from the 80s will understand. Even some of the 90s, I suppose, will understand that the world has changed tremendously in my lifetime, which is awesome. I have ADHD, and every day is something new. In fact, I need it to be something new every minute, and it's getting that way. Every minute is something new. Okay. One thing that I'm going to try to do too while I'm doing my videos, I'm going to try to keep the minutes down per video. People that have watched my channel before have suffered along with me while I made hour-long videos. Some people think that kind of stuff's awesome. I personally do. I love to watch long videos, but a lot of people don't, and I don't blame them. It gets nutty, especially when you're watching somebody like me talk. But you guys are going to see me around a lot, and so for people that like my kind of content, which is going to get more and more interesting, I hope. Not necessarily, in an educational way. Maybe it will be educational for somebody, but maybe in a almost like a family way. You get to know somebody, and just like friends, you get to know them, and if you don't like them, you don't have to watch them. If you do like them, you can keep watching them, and it's kind of like a friend. It's a comfort thing, right? That you get to know somebody and they're going to be there. Well, I decided I'm going to be around. I don't have any kids. I have a wife that is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And we're obviously very, very, very close. But I don't have a ton of friends. I have a best friend besides my wife. But I don't get to see that dude much these days because he lives in Chattanooga. And every time I think about moving to wherever he lives, he's getting ready to move again. So we just got to be buds and visit each other once in a while. He's wise. He probably doesn't want to live in a permanent place. And maybe I make sure he moves if I move there too. I don't know. But anyway, he's a good dude. And but I need more. I need more friends. And so I'm developing friends this way. And also, I want to be around to teach younger people. I don't have kids, and I've had a lot of life experience. And so I'm happy to impart the things I've learned along the way to people that are interested. And the other thing is I've learned a lot of shit where I know a ton of people that a place where I'm from, where that they never changed jobs, they never changed houses. They went to the same factory job every day for 25 years, kind of thing, and that would have killed me. That would have straight up killed me. I'm the real ADHD kind of person. If I got stuck in one place very long, that would just be wither and die time. So. Anyway, so that's the idea. I started telling you about keeping my minutes down on my posts to 30 minutes or less. And so what I'll end up doing is rattling on or hopefully staying on subject or whatever for 30 minutes and then making a new post if I'm not done talking. So when that time comes, I'll let you guys know. I'm like 19 minutes in, and so 10 more minutes and we're good. And I'll continue the post. One of the things I'm going to cover today, besides this truck driving thing, which is my new awesome adventure, which I'm actually really stoked about, is the stuff that's going on with our country right now. And I'm kind of going through a thing with it right now. Trying to wrap my head around some shit. I mean, and I think everybody's doing that. But before long, I'm either going to make a gigantic mistake, or I'm going to do basically one of the few things I was put on this earth to do this time in this life. And I hope it's not the mistake one, because I've made a ton of those over time. I'm kind of really good at that, making mistakes, that is. And I'm not going to talk a bunch about that, because it's just, nobody should have to think about that. I don't want to think about it, but I have to. I don't get to shut myself off, though I wish I could sometimes. I would never shut myself off for good, because that's a fucking coward's way out. But it'd be nice to get a rest once in a while. I grew up in the Cold War era. I grew up in the Cold War. My father was a Cold War sailor on submarines in the 60s and 50s and 60s. And I've talked on this channel before about that. He and other men that he worked with paid a tremendous price, the price for that. He didn't pay it, thank God. He paid it in another way, maybe that's worse. But that set my childhood up for understanding. And, the people I grew up around because of him were the best sort. The type of true believers. So I understand MAGA people. I don't agree with them in the slightest way, but I understand them. If you truly believe in something, that owns you. It owns you. I grew up in the Cold War. The people that my parents hung around and that were most influential to me were good people, because my parents were good, and some of them were absolute patriotic heroes. And I don't mean today's version of patriot. Today's version of patriot with the MAGA thing, they have completely changed the word, which is kind of heartbreaking to me. But because there's a ton of people now that are growing up that have no idea. If I were them, I'd be confused at minimum. But the old version of what patriot is what I grew up around. It was quiet patriotism sometimes. Sometimes it was probably loud, But in the 60s and 70s, when people were protesting the Vietnam War, which is understandable, the Vietnam War needed protesting, and it had an effect, on presidents and on how we conducted the war and when we got out of the war and all that kind of stuff. So protesting does work. But there were a ton of people that were serving at the time, and they were the kind of patriot that I admire, because that's what my formative years, they were quiet patriots. They allowed people to do the protesting and all that kind of stuff while they sacrificed, and made sure that the work was being done. There is no such thing as following illegal orders. Nobody does that. You're not supposed to do that. The only person that follows illegal orders are evil people. My father would have never done that. The people that were his friends and mentors would have never done that, and would have proudly died, rather than doing that, or been imprisoned. So, yeah. There were lots and lots of illegal orders followed during Vietnam, which were horrific. You can't even. I have a hard time imagining, and I've heard firsthand accounts I just can't picture, I mean, during World War II, certainly, I'm sure, I mean, I've read about tons and tons of it, but illegal orders are constantly given, one way or the other, constantly given. And most of them are stopped very quickly by the people that get those orders and then don't follow them and even make noise, whistleblowers, right? Because the people giving illegal orders are pieces of shit or fucking idiots that shouldn't be in charge of anything and certainly shouldn't have a live ammo on them. But it's every soldier's job, every sailor's job, every airman's job to disobey actively and complain actively about illegal orders. This is nothing new. This is the same shit it's always been, except that there's the top office, the presidency, is surrounding himself with a bunch of pieces of shit that are all trying to legitimize illegal orders, straight up quote unquote illegal orders. They're doing the wrong thing. They're trying to legitimize it. They're trying to squash people like Captain Mark Kelly, who is coming right out and telling people he's a lifelong servant of the people of America. And he came out and made a post about don't follow illegal orders, which is something that everybody knows. But the government is trying to prosecute him over that, because he's a veteran. And it's just one more step in the wrong direction that the country is attempting to take at the helm, while Donald Trump is at the helm. And my video is coming up to the end, and so I'm going to finish the video this way. Here's I've been paying close attention and reading a lot and stuff, and I pay attention to really smart people, and I believe this is what's happening. When illegal orders are given, and horrible shit's happening, like the United States reputation around the world is being destroyed. I mean, it wasn't awesome in some ways. Okay, we've always had a big job. It's never looked pretty. A lot of really bad people have been in key positions, and over time, and we've committed atrocities. That are being very public and stuff. I mean, look what we did to all native people, indigenous people of this continent, and still do, frankly. And look what we've done to African people, and what we, for hundreds of years, and what we continue to do to them, to African Americans, which they're just as American as anybody else now. That's only the tip of the iceberg. The things that we do, the government changes, the horrible serving of the super wealthy for them to further their interests around the world, and victimize indigenous people of other countries is not even ours. America has committed atrocities throughout its history. The goal is for the people, the mass of the people, to learn and to do better, and then to make the government do better. Okay, that's the goal. Should be everybody's goal. America is slowly but surely evolving. Okay, and it's because the people are learning, and then the people are the government. The difference is we've got to take the government away from the super wealthy. The super wealthy have their own agenda, and it has nothing to do with right and wrong. It has to do with making them more money, and to watch the loss of profit, at the expense of other people. So no, we're going to take our government away from the super wealthy and do better. And slowly but surely we are doing that. We're evolving as a people, and we are a real actual democracy. I know lots of people, I watch Red Note, I follow it, and there's a lot of propaganda there. There's a lot of people telling the Chinese people Americans don't have it good. Don't try to follow them because, they're not really a democracy. It's all rigged against them. That's bullshit. There's a lot of rigging, but we are a democracy, and we do get to make choices, and it's our choice whether we vote or not. The only reason Trump got elected was because 35% of eligible Americans did not vote. Some of that's out of protest, which shame on them. Foolish children. I mean, I was a foolish child at one time too, so I guess that's the way it is. But 35% of people didn't use their voting power. Just horrible. And Trump thanks you very much. And evil people everywhere, thank you very much. Okay, that was that. So, hey, you guys, I'm going to make another post here pretty soon to continue a more organized thought. As you can see, I jump around, and that's the ADHD thing. I jump around and lose track of what I'm saying and stuff. But it's been 30 minutes. Thanks very much for listening. And I have never said this before, but hey, could you hit like on this video if you liked it? That is, I want to know. Don't hit like if you didn't like it, because then that tells me that I need to change things. And if you hit subscribe, it's great. But now subscribe, I always think that means you got to pay money. I don't want you to have to pay money to do anything. But if you either you click on the bell, which means that you want to see new videos, and if you subscribe to the channel, all that means that you've basically chosen this channel as one that you would like to see more often. Sometimes there's a highlighted subscribe tab. You just hit it, and on mine you'll never have to pay money because there's other ways. I don't care about the money part of it. And then on some, it's not the big subscribe tab. It's just a bell, and you click on the bell. Either one of those gets you subscribed. So, and if you subscribe, then I know, I get to see the numbers, and I get to see how many people are really interested in this stuff. And hopefully you even comment. That's a big deal. If you can comment on this stuff and tell me what you think. You don't have to tell me you like me and all that kind of stuff, but what I would love to hear is what you would like me to talk about, or if you have any questions about me, or if you have any questions about something I've talked about. Very often I touch on something and then I have a lot more knowledge about it, but I barely touched on it. So anyway, but hey, you guys rock, and thanks for watching my channel, and you're going to see a lot more of me here soon, and I'll keep going. Have a good one, guys.